He's not Edwin, but he talks a lot. So for our audience, Orlando, there you go. So for our audience, Orlando, if you can introduce yourself.
Orlando Antigua, assistant coach, University of Kentucky, associate coach, but assistant coach. Originally from Dominican Republic, grew up in New York City, and raised in New York, went to the University of Pittsburgh, and then played with the Harlem Globetrotters for 7.5 years, became the first Latino to ever play with the Globetrotters.
Shout out for that.
Thank you. And retired from playing and then got into coaching. Started my coaching career as director of operations at the University of Pittsburgh, my alma mater, and then became an assistant coach at University of Memphis. Was there for 8 months with Coach Calipari, and then wound up at Kentucky, where I was there with him for 5 years. Became a head coach at the University of South Florida for a few years, and then went to Illinois for 4 years as an assistant, and now back at Kentucky going on my 3rd year.
Right on. Welcome, Orlando, por favor. George, tell us who you are.
So before I do that, Armando 100% is going to make a joke about me. What I need from the audience is please don't laugh, because it just makes him do more and more and more. So he's going to make fun of me. He's going to make fun of me at some point.
When I sent you that text about George, we go ahead.
It's going to be embarrassing. But yeah, my name is George Zedan, founder of Veritas Academy in Los Angeles. Founded a national high school prep team. The reason I think I'm up here, I'm not positive, but the message behind our program is that we're trying our best to promote Latinos in basketball. We know, like Gary says, we know we're great in soccer, we know we dominate baseball, but our project and our deal is geared towards advancing our people in the game of hoops, which isn't always easy, but that's what we're up to.
You're actually being very humble because you have 2 elite players in the sport industry. So talk to them a little about what you're doing with Nike. And of course, University of Kentucky is one of the legacy institutions out there, but tell them a little bit about Nike, then we'll go into Orlando about something.
Yeah, so obviously it's an honor to be up here with Coach Antigua, super humble guy, but he's big time. And then obviously Armando over the last few years has been a mentor of mine. But Veritas is one of 180 schools out of 50,000 high schools that has been vetted by Nike, and we're designated as a Nike Elite High School.
Shout out for that. He was wearing Court Classics from Costco before he got Nike deal.
See what I mean? In his defense, before he went to the Nike meeting, I don't remember the name of
I have the video.
We were in some fancy West Side accounting office, and I was carrying my backpack, and Armando's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "What?" Going on? He's like, "You have an Adidas backpack to the Nike meeting." I'm like, "Oh shoot! Let me go back to the valet and take my backpack back." But yeah. So the league we play in, it's called the EYBL Scholastic. I know that means absolutely nothing to you guys, but what I can tell you is my starting backcourt is a young man named Zion Palayo, Cuban American. My shooting guard is a young man named Aram Soki from Rosarito, Mexico. These 2 are the first Latino kids to ever play in this elite Nike basketball league. So it's a huge deal.
Yeah, it's not easy. So shout out for George. Let's give him a round of applause. So Coach Antigua, doing research on you, I love how you say, because in our industry, we go through our ups and downs. If we don't meet our financial goals, we don't sell that house, we submit the offer, we don't get it, or they go with somebody else. That's very typical in our industry, but you said something that was pretty fire. You said, I don't so much focus on winning, I focus on good habits. Talk to us about that, because that applies in our businesses.
It's the habits that get to the results. So you start early on trying to teach the young men that we get a chance to coach, that we get a chance to influence, to build winning habits. Oftentimes when you get them, you're getting a lot of raw talent, you're getting a lot of ability, and how do you help them channel that so that they can take it to the next level? Obviously, at the University of Kentucky, we're dealing with the cream of the cream and some elite athletes and elite student athletes. And you want to prepare them and teach them how they're going to be able to not only succeed at the college level, but most of the times when they're coming to us is that they're aspiring to get to the NBA. And, you know, we've been fortunate that in the years that Coach Calipari, who's my boss, has been at the University of Kentucky for his last 15 years, we have over 50 plus guys that are in the NBA. Historic event this past All-Star game, we had 7 actually kids that played at the University of Kentucky that were in the All-Star game.
And we're going to get into that, but so that's cool. A round of applause for Orlando. I like that. One of the strengths in George that also applies in you guys' business, our business in industry is, you know, he's playing at a high level. So they don't always have a winning record. But for some reason, George I've seen him the way he mentors and lifts people up. You're really, really hardcore on accountability and high major character. Just like when we want to recruit, just like when we run our boards and we have our directors who aren't pulling their weight. How do you overcome that?
I think that's something that people use as buzzwords and catchphrases, but in order to be successful in our deal and in our program, yeah, having ultimate accountability of your coaching staff and of your players is first and foremost, and you don't deviate from that. And I know everyone in this room is business owners or in the sales environment, and so yeah, my thing is like ultimate character, ultimate accountability. We can win and lose games. We can make mistakes as coaches, which we do all the time. Our players can screw up, but yeah, ultimate accountability and just, you know, just making sure guys understand the deal that they're sort of signing up for.
Can I add something? Can I add
Of course,
something
no, it's
to
a
that?
conversation.
In talking about dealing with mistakes and building winning habits, mistakes are part of success, right? And they only affect you if you don't learn from them. So you either win or you learn. And you can't have one without the other, right? Because that's where you get your experience. That's where you get your know-how. That's where you know, okay, maybe I don't need to be thinking this way. I don't need to be going this way. And so you have to have that. And the only way that you can overcome that is by being able to have people that can hold you accountable and teaching you the habits to have great character. And then the results will happen. The results are a byproduct of all of those things.
And that takes humility to admit you need to listen more. So how does someone get out of their rut? Like in their businesses, in our businesses, we go where Gary will talk about we got to get back in rhythm. So how do you guys coach your players to get back in rhythm when they're going through a rut?
Go back to the basics. Simplify it, right? It's not very complicated. You have to be, there was a word that was used, and it's a word that we use a lot, with the kids and the players and the athletes that we coach, that we recruit. All right, they're high level, and there's a thing about self-confidence. The first thing that you have to have before you become self-confident is you have to become competent. And that word was used earlier. And the only way you become competent is if you have great character and you got great work ethic. You dive into your field. You dive into your passion. You dive into the work that you need so that you can become so competent in what you're doing that it's nothing or anything that you're going to go through is going to take you away from that. When you start hitting bumps in the road, you go back to the basics and you understand, I've earned the right to be here. I've worked my tail to be here. I've done the work so that I'm competent enough to understand how to manage these landmines, these bumps in the road. Because success is not this way. It's this, it's that, it's that, it's that. And it's the consistency that you need to be able to be really successful in any field.
I like that, the success up and down. How do you get your players back? Un aplauso for Orlando.
Gracias.
I think there's a lot of parallels in our business and your business where, effort doesn't equal results. Mm-hmm. So you could put all this time into a buyer or a seller or doing a loan and they don't qualify or, whatever the situation. Same thing for basketball and for our players. And so this is really simple, but one of the things I really challenge our guys on is just don't give up. And I know it sounds really simplistic, but it's like the ability to fight and just battle when you're at your worst or when you're at your least confident. Don't give up. It'll get better. Don't give up. Keep competing. We're playing Montverde Academy a month ago. It's the best high school team I've ever seen. They have 5 McDonald's All-Americans. McDonald's All-American means you're one of the top 24 players in the country, and that's my entire message. Now to my coaches, I'm going, wow, we're on ESPN. I hope we don't lose by 40. But you don't want to be that highlight. But to our kids, it's like every time out, clapping. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep fighting. That's sort of how we.
Can I add something? As someone that's seen George from the beginning and what he's done with the program and where he's gotten it to the heights that he's gotten it here, and this is not where it's going to be in the future. That's the one thing that you can always say about his kids and his teams. They are going to compete their tails off. And as coaches, as fans of the game, you go to those games and you watch. Now, there may not be the talent at times for me, but there's always talent there. But they compete and they take on the personality of their coach and their staff. And that's really, really fun to see. And so Coach does an unbelievable job of that.
Talking about that grit, right? The grit. I mean, that guy's awesome. So earlier this morning, George says, I'm 27 for 27. I'm placing these predominantly athletes from Latino America, right, into a better position, whether it be a scholarship or what have you. So let's give him an aplauso for that. Yeah. How many NBA players have you coached in your career?
I think it's up to 8. 8 NBA players. Probably the best player I've coached is a kid by the name of Josh Green, who plays for the Dallas Mavericks. Just signed his 2nd contract, and we were in Vegas going to get coffee, and I think he's 23. And Coach has way more experience with this, but for me it was a really cool moment. We're in his $100,000 car, and Kyrie Irving calls him, and he's like, Coach, I still get chills on my phone on my car when I'm driving and I see Kyrie Irving. And he goes, but for you, I'll put him on hold. I'll call him later.
And I want to just tee up this question. So, Coach Orlando, how many NBA players? You said 50 earlier, but how many? And give us some notable names. So I want to put some context behind how this applies to our businesses.
Well, I've been blessed. I've been fortunate to be a part of some unbelievable coaching staffs, and we've been able to recruit some guys. My career at Kentucky alone, I've been able to coach 3 number 1 picks. We've had 14 consecutive years where we've been able to help get first rounders get drafted. A total of close to $4 billion in just NBA salaries from the players that have come through Kentucky.
Give a round of applause for both of them on that. Okay. Give us the one quality they all have. You guys can both answer that question.
He's better suited for that. The one quality.
No, because I think it translates. The one quality I would say that they were all very driven. They understand that they've been blessed. They've got incredible gifts that they did not earn. They were blessed with being 7 foot, the coordination that they have, the parents that they were born to, the situations they were put in. And their responsibility to those gifts is to work and try to maximize those gifts. And so the drive that they need to have is something that we encourage, that we try to make sure we foster, and it goes back to those habits and teaching them the habits so they can have success.
Drive, write that down, guys, and plan your business. George.
I have a question for Orlando. So you've been around all these like amazing talents. So you said drive for the guys that make it. What about the quote can't miss guys? Like, what are some of the characteristics of the guys that don't make it?
They don't make it maybe in the eyes of what their dreams are to try to make it to the NBA, because not everyone is guaranteed to get to that level. But what they learn is that they're around other really talented people that have the drive, that have the work. And what they're able to do is translate that to their other parts of their lives to the corporate world when they get into businesses, and you see them start to apply that, and they separate themselves because of the training and of the background, and they're able to manage and deal with the bumps in the roads, the losses, and convert those to wins for themselves.
And also, I think ego prevents them from their potential.
Yeah, there's some to that, and you need to have a little bit of ego, but you have to know how to channel it. You have to have an incredible belief in yourself, which is being self-confident. It's confidence, and that comes through the competency of putting in the work. But you still have to remain humble enough when you're not playing. When you're on the court, go. Off the court, be humble. And as a staff, we try to teach them all those things.
Yeah, we call that anti-going mierderia. So you said earlier, you guys enjoying this panel? Yeah. You said, and we're going to close it out, you said earlier you were the first Latino Globetrotter. What does that mean? Explain to these, because they're young, they don't, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Harlem Globetrotters was an organization that actually was here in Phoenix for a lot of years that was predominantly for African Americans, and they were utilized as a marketing tool early on where the black athletes, when they couldn't play in the professional ranks, they were really from Chicago. Mm-hmm. They used the name, Abe Saperstein was the owner at the time when he created it. They used the name the Harlem Globetrotters because they wanted everybody to know that it was an African-American team, and the Globetrotter part was marketing. They hadn't left the state of Illinois, but they made it sound like there was this great group of traveling. And
what did they do? They play games or they did tricks? What did they entertain?
They entertained. They played basketball. They would open up during the times when it was originated. They would go into the ballrooms and they would play a game, and then afterwards they would have a party, and that's how they created and generated following.
Raise your hands if you guys have heard the Harlem Globetrotters. They're known for their tricks, right? Yeah. Oh, you still got it?
Can I show? I'm going to show you my best trick.
Yeah. Let's give a big round of applause.
I'm not going to need a ball. I'm not going to need a ball for that.
Don't use a test sample. You might jack it up.
No. My best trick is disappearing. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Orlando, ladies and gentlemen, and George. That's awesome. Come here, bro.